y'all. Welcome back to the internet. This is Avery and Beckett. And today, exercise 2, part 1. Exercise 2, part 1. And in this exercise, we'll be working with the internet, with Photoshop, and with Blender. Here's an overview. So first, the internet. We will call on it to generate an art title for us. Then in Photoshop, we will take that title and let it inspire the decisions that we make in scraping images off of the internet and collaging them together. In Photoshop, we'll learn about layer masks, clipping masks, and adjustment layers. And then we will take that image that we make. Here, you want this?
No. No.
That image. Then we will take that image that we made in Photoshop and wrap it around the default cube in Blender. And then on top of that, we will create lines that change incrementally over time, an animation. We will render that image out, take it back into Photoshop, and then create a poster with our initial text that we got from the internet. Thanks, internet. Thanks, Photoshop. Thanks, Blender. Thanks, Beckett. And thanks to you all for sticking with me. I'm excited to go through this exercise with you. Is that good? And it's just me. My co-host had to go to bed. So let's start this thing in the internet. So if you go to artsnova.com, blah, 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 more things, you'll see that Jim Plaxco, it's in the description, Jim Plaxco has created an artwork title generator for us, and we can just click right here to request the artwork. I've already flipped through some and picked one. Don't be too picky, but, I had to go with this one. Artist abiding an artwork. Control or Command C to copy it. Do this. This is important because, just as you'll see. Copy your title, and then we'll go to Photoshop. In Photoshop, we're creating new. Follow these steps, y'all. We want a document that's 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels. So it's a square, 72 pixels per inch, RGB color. Look at all of this. This is all what we want, okay? Create. Here is our canvas where we're going to do everything. Before we start, let's make sure we're all pretty much looking at the same situation, the same layout on our screen. I know, I'm on a PC. Some of you will be on Macs, but if you click right here, you'll pull out the you'll pull out the layout window. Yes, essentials, but everyone reset essentials just so it looks like this or something very close. So we're more or less on the same digital page. Now that we have the workspace set, let's double click on our background layer. So double click anywhere on that background default layer, and you see we can rename it now. We're turning it into a regular layer. So Command or Control V to paste your title in. This is, now it's just helpful. We have our title here. Wonderful. Okay. So now we've taken our background default layer, which was locked. It's now unlocked, and we've also pasted in our title so that we have it to reference whenever we need it. Let's add a layer style to this layer. So we're not dealing with just a white background. Double click that, and you have this layer style window will pop up. You can do color overlay to change a color, when you color, but I'm going to do a gradient overlay. I mean, you can have multiple too, but you can see that, it's stacked in such a way that the color will cover up the gradient. And when you need to make sure it's selected, like it's highlighted if you want to make any adjustments to it. And I think, I'm digging this pink situation, but there are a ton of presets once you click in the gradient bar, and you can see there are a lot of, maybe orange. Oh, yeah. That's lovely. So yes, and you can do that, and then you can add another color if you just click here. There's so many options. It's really good. I'm hitting cancel. Let's do. Oh, okay. I don't want to get locked up in this because you know how I am. Okay, so now we have a background. Let's go to the image internet. Oh, let me just say in layer styles, you can make them invisible at any point by clicking both of these. You can add more styles on top of it by just double clicking on your layer and, adding a stroke, well, that won't work, but you can add a texture. There's nothing to stroke. That's why it didn't work. You can add a texture to this. There's so much. I encourage you to go wild with this and just learn about Photoshop through playing as you make this collage image that's inspired by some randomly generated text or computer generated art title, which mine is Artist Abiding in Artwork. Oh, so let's go to the internet and, say images.google.com and find things. So artist, that's where I'm going to start. And this is how you all are going to start. We're scraping, we're stealing, we're appropriating images from the internet to build something new. So it'll be, signifiers colliding, and we'll find out what happens when they do that in an image that we make. Oh, Bob Ross, of course. So the first way that we're going to steal an image from the internet is just copy. So I just right-clicked in that, and I copy the image. I can come into Photoshop and then edit, and then paste the image in. And we could, if I just want Bob's face, let me move him into the middle a little bit by hitting V, which is the move tool in Photoshop. And I guess I could just erase Bob. But what if, down the road, I want to bring Bob back? What if I want that hand back in my image? Erasing is destructive, right? We are literally destroying pixels. I'm going to do Command or Control Z to go back. So you can go back, but what if you do the other things on top? Anyway, going back doesn't work in really that many situations, very few situations. We need a non-destructive way of erasing, and that is masking. So let's just add a mask to this, and I'll show you what that means. So there are a couple ways to do this. One, make sure your layer is selected, and then go to Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. So Reveal All creates a mask that is white, and then I'm going to do Command or Control Z to go back, so no mask. And then Layer, Layer Mask, Hide All is black. What did we learn? When you have a layer mask, you use black and white to hide or reveal things. And how can we make black and white in an image? Well, there are a couple different ways, but we're going to use the brush. So hitting B on your keyboard pulls up the brush tool, which is right here. And then making sure that you're selecting your layer mask is selected. It's highlighted. And then you want to make sure you're on your default background color. So right now, let's say if I do like this, those are not default background colors. Okay, it is not. It's stuck in grays, and I think that's because I'm in the layer mask. But anyway, I wanted to show you if it's not on the default background and foreground colors. Sorry, kept saying background, but foreground is on top, background is behind it. To get the default, in your document, while you're in your document, just hit D, and you have the default white as the foreground, and the default black is the background. We want black, so all we need to do is hit X. X on the keyboard. So D brings up the default black and white, and X toggles back and forth between them. So good to know that. Now we can rock and roll. So we have our layer mask selected, we have black selected, and we have our brush selected, and we can paint black on our layer mask, and painting black hides the image. And here we go, and we are non-destructively erasing, quote unquote erasing. And like any brush, you can use the brackets open bracket to make things smaller, close bracket to make things bigger, and you can adjust the brush, up here, you can adjust the hardness, you can adjust the size too. You can come here and have all sorts of funky brushes, right, and have textures in your layer masks. So there are a ton of different possibilities within layer masks, but the important thing to know is black hides and white reveals. And let me just show you what I mean by non-destructive. So, whoops, I took out all of that. I want to bring it back. I can just hit X to toggle to my white and make it a little bit smaller. And now I am revealing. Whoa. I mean, similarly, you can mess with the opacity, right? So there's so many different things that you can do with this. I encourage you to explore. I don't want to go over it too much more because I need to move on to the next one. So now I can move the image around. Oh, you can see I got some dingleberries over here that I need to take care of. So I still have my layer mask selected. I have black. I'm going to toggle to have black. And just erase, 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 erase. Ooh, isn't that nice? Then I can hit V, and I have my move tool, and I put it back. Cool. So that's black and white in a layer mask. Now let's look at some more automated ways of doing that. So, well, first I'll just do some Control or Command T, brings up the transform, which is, and then you have to hit Enter to kind of put it into place. But that is Edit, Free Transform. So that's if you need to scale things down, if you need to rotate them around. That's how you would do it. So let's go back to the internet. Let's do Copy Image. Go back to Photoshop, Control V to paste the image. And this time, our mask, we're going to create the selection, or the computer is going to help us create the selection. So select, come down here to Subject. And you can see the computer did a pretty good job picking out our subject. And you can see the marching ants are around it. So it's chosen the hands. Now, a way that you can create a mask from a selection is actually, if you have your selection, you're on the right layer, you come down here where it is the white rectangle with a punch out of it, and click it. And you've automatically created a mask. So that is how you add a layer mask. And we have, the same options that we had before. We can use black and white brush to pull things back. So, we wanted to get rid of that, for example. So if I hit the brush tool, I scale it down. I want to paint black to hide, and I can just hide. Another way to edit your mask is to actually double-click the mask, and you pull up this window where it has a bunch of different ways of refining and editing your mask. So you can adjust the radius, you can adjust the smoothness, you can play with all of this stuff, discover it. But the biggest thing I want to show you is, do you see I have a brush selected right here, and there's a very small plus inside of that circle. So now I can add things in. So I have this brush. I can change the brush, right? I can change the hardness. So I'm changing my selection area. I can hit, hitting Alt or Option changes it to negative. So again, I have these same options, but by double clicking in my mask, I can affect my my selection, my layer mask, the information, my layer mask. So that is just really good to know. So let me just zoom out here. So I have creepy hands, and I have Bob Ross. I'm going to scale these up by hitting Control or Command T. I scale them up. I scale them up. Wow, really, really cool image. This is the artist abiding. So now we've done 2 different layer masks. I'm going to do one more image, and then I'm going to show you adjustment layers, and then we will stop with our image. Okay? Dang it. All right. Did you see that? If you need to erase a layer, grab it, click and drag, and you can take it down to the trash can. All right, let's look really quickly. Back to the internet. Yes. Okay. So now I've switched from God through to football players, but that's what the internet does to you sometimes. Save image as God. Save. Oh, yes. And now back into Photoshop. File. Place embedded. Find your God. Place. And then here we hit Enter if we're happy with its placement. I am. And now I want to show you a different selection technique. So you have God selected. Come here to Select Window. Go to Focus Area. And you see what happened? Because we have a low depth of field, we're essentially finding the thing that we want to be in focus. And we can adjust it. I mean, this one is really heavy, that's wild, the depth of field. But it's just, another way to make a selection if you have something, an image with a low depth of field. Okay. And then our output here, we want a layer mask. We can do a selection, but we just want a layer mask. It'll do it for us. So, okay, we have a layer mask. I would want to maybe make some adjustments there, but honestly, I kind of like it. I'm going to leave it there, and, you can watch me do a couple things now, but we're essentially done with this image and about ready to save it. So I'll do a couple more adjustments to this image. Oh, no. Now I need to show you, friends, I need to show you what happens with a adjustment layer. So how do you add an adjustment layer to a thing? Say I want this to be a different color. I want it to be just weird and glitchy. You come down, you select your layer, let's say the hands, for example, and you come to this moon cookie icon. Click on it. You can't see those options, so let me pull up for you. Layers. Click on it, and here are all the options that you have to do a adjustment layer. Let's do hue and saturation. So I'll come back down now that you've seen that. The other way that you can pull up an adjustment layer, oh my gosh. The other way that you can pull up an adjustment layer is going layer, new adjustment layer. Okay, and you can see you have the same options right there. There's so many things in Photoshop, but there's just not enough time. But these are just a couple tips to get you going on your project. So you can now, because we have hue and saturation, we have hue and saturation, and also lightness to mess with. So you can see we can change the hue and the saturation. Wait a minute, Avery. I thought you said we were just doing this on the hands. Yeah, this is where we need clipping masks. So when you have an adjustment layer, it will affect everything below it, all of the layers below it. You notice how our God is not changing. If you want to just affect the one layer immediately below, you have to make sure your adjustment layer is selected, right-click it, and then create clipping mask, which again is not visible for you all. So create clipping mask. Another way is when you have it selected, go to layer up here, and then create clipping mask. And now you can see we're just affecting the hands. Wow. Isn't that marvelous? So we can get to some fun, potentially glitchy stuff, or just, weird stuff. Now I'm going to play. But I will fast forward all of this. And the last thing we're going to do is just, save out the image. So it would just be File. You definitely want to save as a PSD. So make sure you save your image as a PSD, save. But then for the next step of the tutorial, you will need this as a JPEG. So File, Save As, all of this, and then just make sure you have JPEG as your format selected, and then save as such. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward a couple little edits that I make, but I hope that this was helpful for you all. I'll see you in the next one.